All right, and as mentioned too, we still have some folks joining. So I just want to welcome everybody for joining us today for our webinar, our live Q&A with Michael Keating, who's joining us from Three Brothers Project. This has been great for the last number of months. As you know, we've been offering these live webinars and just with our person-directed program. So I'll just do a short spiel on the program. So as most as you know, this is a pilot. It's in collaboration with Department of Community Services and Breton Ability Centre. So we're seeking to help folks with varying abilities, mental health struggles as well, with a person development plan and any supports and services that we can help link them to in the community. And I invite you to go back on our YouTube channel. There are previous webinars that we put up. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today our featured guest. It's Michael Keating from the Three Brothers Project. So Michael's going to be joining us today to present on this wonderful organization. So we're going to have a conversation today. So I have a number of questions that I'll be asking Michael today, just to kind of get to know Michael and the Three Brothers Project. And as well, as I mentioned, for folks that are just joining too, we're going to leave lots of room for questions at the end. As well, I certainly encourage you to put your questions in the chat box if anything pops to mind as we go along. I know sometimes we lose our train of thought, so if you stick it in the chat there, we'll get to the end of it. One last thing before we get into the presentation, I'm just going to place something here in the chat. So as most of you know, if you're on our bi-weekly newsletters, we're involved in a raffle box 50-50 with two other of our sister organizations across the province there in their charitable foundations. So we do a monthly 50-50 raffle with proceeds going to our foundation. And the date is coming due tomorrow at midnight. So certainly invite you to click on that link, and the winner will be taking home the half the pot. So last month the winner took home over $300. So we certainly I would encourage you to help out these wonderful foundations and a chance to win some money at the same time. So we're going to kick things off. We're going to get right into things. So Michael, thank you for joining us today. We've sent out a few emails to the group to kind of let folks know what we're up to today. But before we get started, I just want to so the folks on the call here can get to know you. Just tell us a little about yourself so we can get to know you and the Three Brothers Project.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having me and speaking with us today. So really appreciate that. So as you mentioned, my name is Michael Keating. I started Three Brothers Project in November last year. So I'm originally I'm from Cape Breton. I grew up here in Sydney River and graduated high school from Riverview in 2002. So now I live in Sydney, and I work at Celtic Plaza in Sydney River. So kind of give you an idea of who I am and where I'm from.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, so I think so I have a prepared doc, as you know, of prepared questions here, and as I encourage folks to chat in the box there, send us your questions. But one of the first questions I wanted to ask Michael is, basically, you mentioned in November last year, that's when the Three Brothers Project was started. So can you just tell us when it was started and why, just some of the background behind it?
Mm-hmm. So it was started in November of last year, and it's something that had been rolling around my brain for about 3 years. I lost my brother Matthew in September of 2017 after I guess I would say a battle with mental illness, and eventually that got the best of him. And so I wanted to do something that would honor Matthew's memory and honor it in a meaningful way. So I was just kind of chatting with some friends, and they had mentioned to me that they were looking for an initiative that we could all get behind. It was just a chat group, and they were looking for something that they could get involved in. And I had just kind of haphazardly thrown it out there that I had been considering starting this initiative, and they said, well, let's do it. You should do it, and you should do it right now. So anyways, it'd been something I've been thinking about for a long time, but it took that kind of final push from some good buddies that it came to fruition. So that's why we started it. And then the idea behind it is our primary goal is to foster conversations about men's mental health. So with the emphasis being on making people feel more comfortable with speaking about whatever it is they might be facing. And the idea behind that being that if they're more open about those challenges, other people will be too, and they can seek the help that they need more comfortably. And then the second is to promote physical activity. That part's an important component of mental health, and I think it's something that needs to be emphasized more. Everyone's busy, so sometimes physical activity is the first thing to kind of take a blow. If you have a busy 9 to 5, you have kids and all that kind of stuff, physical activity kind of gets pushed to the side. But if you make it a priority, it can also have a positive mental health impact as well as physical.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And then you touched on some of the things, but what are some of the initiatives that you guys would like to share that you've undertaken, I guess, over the past year to year and a half to help spread the awareness?
Yeah, so initially, when I started this, the goal was to raise money for the scholarship in my brother's memory. So it was really organic at first. So initially we set out to challenge people to move 100 kilometers over the course of the month of November. Um, and our financial target was $30,000. And I had prepared myself mentally to take up to 2 years to reach that target. We ended up hitting that goal in less than 6 months. So the community response was incredible. And it was really organic the way it happened. So we kicked things off, as I mentioned, with the 100-kilometer run, which was done, it can be done 3.3 a day, or maybe you want to do 10 a day or whatever it was. So it was a big goal, but I mean, it inspired a lot of people to get up and get moving. And kind of as we're doing this over the course of November, we started getting kind of a lot of media attention. And then people that I know personally kind of started coming forward, and they said, oh, well, this is I really understand what it is you're trying to do here. I want to get behind this. So then other organizations started coming forward and getting involved. So we had a hockey game in December that was organized by the Cape Breton Gentlemen's Hockey League. We followed that up with a run in January, virtual run. So anyone could do that anywhere. We had people participating across the province, across the country, and even overseas, just because of the nature of social media. And then we also, and that was organized, I should mention, by Lauren and Ashley at Ascendo. So we did workout sessions with lots of different gyms hosting events. Laura Bowridge hosted a yoga session. So there was all kinds of different people. Steve McKenzie did kind of a training thing to teach people how to lift weights correctly. Like, there was just all kinds of things happening. And it was very organic, but it was just lots of different people stepping up, and it was really incredible to see.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I just want to go back to the scholarship fund. Just to raise $30,000 in 6 months is kind of an incredible feat. I know, just where we have a respective foundation, it's no easy feat at all. So just can you just tell the folks just on the call, where it is a scholarship, but I guess what institution, and I guess how it benefit the students.
Yeah, so it was the scholarship was for NSCC. So the idea behind that was I wanted the money to stay here in Cape Breton. So NSCC, they're currently moving their campus, and I wanted to be able to benefit students here locally. So those were two components that we're kind of working in. Another main one being that the scholarship is in my brother's memory. Matthew was a student of NSCC, so being able to combine that idea with being able to benefit people here locally, that was the idea. So we raised $30,000. We'll never have to touch that ever unless we want to, and that will generate a bursary of $1,000 every year, which will be awarded to someone here from the CBRM based on certain qualifications that I kind of set out that kind of also honor Matt's memory and kind of the person who he was.
Great. And just to, I guess, kind of build on that, if folks are interested in applying for that scholarship, how can they do that?
So you would do that through the NSCC. So they have different, if you go to their website, you'd be able to navigate your way there.
Okay.
They have dozens and dozens of different bursaries
Yeah.
to kind of help students. And there'd be, so the first one will go out in April of 2022. And yeah, so if someone wants to apply, go through their website, and there's lots of different ones that they can take advantage of there.
Okay, great. Now, Michael, you mentioned all the awesome activities that you guys are up to, the initiatives. Are, I guess, for the upcoming year, yourself and the board, as you kind of continue to work and make things happen, push things forward, are you looking at, setting up specific initiatives that will happen like yearly or annual initiatives, or?
Yeah, so the hockey game itself is going to be an annual. So to, before I get into that, I'll just mention that we're not trying to do too much either. If we do too much, it's going to just turn people off. So we're trying to strike that balance of keeping this idea in people's minds, but also leaving room for other people to kind of step forward, because there's lots of different great initiatives going on here around the community. That being said, we are going to have an annual hockey game. We'll likely do an annual run as well, because it's pretty straightforward to put together. And then hopefully an annual dinner as well. So we had organized a dinner. I think it was scheduled for May, but everything kind of went crazy with COVID there, and we had to cancel it. And we're hoping to reschedule that for November, and make that an annual event as well. And with that event in particular, we had 3 speakers, myself, Seth, he's the chief of the CBRM Fire Department, who is going to speak on some issues surrounding PTSD and first responders, and one of our board members, Ryan Gould, who's also going to speak on his own personal experiences and some challenges that he's overcome in his life. So looking forward to whenever we get to have that. I think it's going to be a great night and probably one of our best events.
Nice. Yeah. And just, I guess we can, something coming up that we're both kind of working on. I don't think we'll give away too many details on that, but there'll be hopefully a future collaboration between BAC and Three Brothers project coming to you in the near future, which we're working on behind the scenes. So looking forward to that. We'll certainly update people through our newsletter and our social media channel. So everyone on the call, stay tuned to that. There's some cool things happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I didn't want to spill the beans on anything. So.
Yeah, we won't give away too much right now, but I think folks will. I think they'll like what we're up to. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, so just I guess the next question I have, Michael. So with the initial, or with the recent media attention this past year, do you find, has this made a difference in promoting the message that you and the group are trying to spread?
Yeah, so the media attention that we received, it was, so first of all, we'll just mention that I had never been involved in anything like this before. So initially that was really intense from my perspective, because I was doing an interview with CTV and then doing another one with CBC, and it caught so much traction. We released a press release kind of explaining what it was we were doing, and it caught a lot of traction really fast. So I think that speaks to the fact that there's this conversation that we're trying to kind of inspire and start is one that is missing. And I think you even saw in the recent election that it was mental health is becoming more of a priority. And you even seen the Conservatives coming forward with their own mental health plan, which is great. Which is not something that you would typically see from that party or from any party in general. So yeah, so to kind of get back to your question, it made a huge difference. It was intense at first, but as it went on, it was more comfortable. And through all that kind of exposure, we were able to reach a lot of people that we wouldn't have normally reached. So I would notice whenever Say, for example, we did a story on global news, we would reach all kinds of people from Halifax, and the HRM would start following our social media. So whenever something like that would come out, there would always be kind of a surge. So keeping those people engaged has been something that we're trying to keep in the back of our minds as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially, just over the course of, the last number of years, I've noticed a difference to where the government is starting to take this very serious and offering more funding for mental health and, looking at the potential of a new portfolio ministry for mental health. So that's,
Mhm.
that's great news, especially for communities such as Cape Breton, as, mental health affects everybody. So we touched on Mark or to Mike about the board as well. And I know we have a few folks on the call today from your board. So do you just want to highlight, I guess, who are some of the community and board members that you have on board for the project?
Mhm. So we have an outstanding group. They're all donating their time, and they're all working really hard. So we kind of run the gamut. We have some of them are friends of mine. Other people are people that I've met just by doing this. Again, kind of organically, kind of just bumping into each other. Ryan Gould, I already mentioned him. Ryan started his own initiative a couple of years ago, the Member to Men's Society. And over the course of my conversations with people, when I was kind of, oh, just whatever we were doing, I'd meet someone. And one of the names that kept coming up over and over again was Ryan. So I reached out to him and we got to meet in person. And I asked him if he wanted to be involved, and he happily obliged. So yeah, he's a great guy. I have a good friend of mine, Matthew Fuqua, who he's been kind of a rock star. He organized his own event and raised $1,000 just by cooking meals at his place for the bursary. We have Chris Bork, he also a great guy. Megan Catalano, a girl I went to school with, but she works for RBC now, kind of back and forth between Montreal, and she brings a whole kind of corporate kind of background that's really beneficial for structure and kind of formulating some sort of strategic plan, kind of how our organization is going to evolve over the next couple of years. We're really young and we're all kind of blind to this. I mean, not entirely. We have like people like Megan, like I mentioned, Ryan Gould. Bernard Curry is another guy. He's got an accounting background, so he's kind of making sure our books are balanced. We have Sean McDonald, who works for Portside Law. So he makes sure everything's kind of on the up and up. And then last but not least is Mark Inglis, who has a background in fundraising. I'm sure most people on this call would know who Mark is. So yeah, he brings a whole different perspective on like how an organization like this should be run and kind of pitfalls to watch out for and different kind of concerns. He can see stuff coming before I do, and a whole communications aspect as well. That's just great. So we have a really strong team. Really lucky to have each and every one of them, and I appreciate everything they've done so far.
I know a lot of the individuals that you mentioned, and in all A1 people, you have a strong, like, diverse board. So, that's going to help. I feel push things forward as you guys continue to grow, and only good things to come. So, as you mentioned, so it's a volunteer-based board. Michael, is there any plans for you guys to look at, attaining charitable status where folks can make donations, and I guess where are you on that?
So we actually recently started the process to obtain charitable status. That being said, we might have to kind of take a step back. It's really, we have to kind of meet and discuss about what it is we want to turn this into. Charitable status is, it's no joke, really. You have to submit yearly, what do you call it? Have an accountant review your documentation and
The remittances and
yeah. So it's at that point we're really getting beyond a volunteer organization. Just a few people donating their time here and there. You almost need a full-time staff. So I mean, if it comes to that and this turns into that, that would be great. But we're not at that point yet. So I had Bernard and Bernie and I had kind of started working on that, but we might have to take a second look at that and kind of reconsider what our plan is.
Yeah.
He said having charitable status is really important for an organization to be able to offer those tax receipts. But also, we've also partnered with a lot of great organizations that have the charitable status. So, for example, the NSCC, whenever someone made a donation, they made it directly through the NSCC. They would let me know, and then I could update our fundraising total. So those people were still getting tax receipts, which is super important.
Yeah.
And then we've managed to do that with 3 different organizations. So
Terrific. Yeah, no, that's a great way to partner. So it sounds like you guys are making great progress on that matter. So I guess like one of the questions I have too, and maybe some people on the call have, is if someone or folks are interested in joining the board or just volunteering at one of the initiatives or events, like how can they go about that?
so they could contact me directly if they're interested in getting involved. Through either probably best through the Three Brothers Project Facebook page or their Instagram. I'm always checking those, so that won't go unread. That's the best way to contact me. Our board, we're kind of at capacity right now. We are 8 people, including myself. I wouldn't want to add anyone else at the moment, just because kind of too many cooks in the kitchen sort of thing. And I don't think, I think we kind of have our bases covered there. But as time goes on, the people who are currently working on the board, their situation might change and they might not have enough time to donate. So we'll have openings back and forth, and we'll definitely make postings on our social media to that effect if someone is to step down. So we'll try to keep it around 8, and if someone steps down, we can make that announcement on social media to get someone involved. And then one more thing I'll mention about that. So earlier I kind of touched on the fact that everything kind of happened organically. So sometimes people come to me with an idea. For example, we were just working with Rugby Nova Scotia, who's going to be hosting a rugby beach day. So
Great.
we'll partner with them on that. And the idea being it's going to encourage their membership to kind of be open about, mental health. And typically it's, rugby's no easy sport. It's guys smashing into each other. But ironically, some of those guys might have challenges, just talking about whatever it is that they're facing in their personal lives. So stuff like that. So if someone has an idea for an event, definitely bring it forward and we'll see if we can work together.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. I noticed Mark Inglis, thank you so much for populating the chat here with a lot of great resources. Can you do us a favor and copy and paste the Facebook link to the Three Brothers Project? So anyone or everyone that's on the call today, we certainly encourage you to give the group a like to kind of stay up to date on things, as well as the great work they're doing. So Mark, I'm sure we'll populate that soon. So certainly encourage everyone to hit the like button on Three Brothers. Michael, quick question. Around, is there a specific age demographic that you serve or support, or is it open to all ages? Or do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so I think honestly it's young men, but I mean it really can be anyone of any age. As you mentioned, mental health is something that we all deal with, but it's the main concern is kind of men between the ages of 18 to kind of a little bit older, 45. Those are challenging times. Sometimes some of the mental health issues that people are facing don't present themselves until kind of that once you kind of leave your teenage years. And at the same time, it's also a challenging time in people's lives. You're leaving high school, you're entering the world for the first time. Some people are going to university, some people are entering the workforce. So it's typically also a time of a lot of upheaval. You're leaving that stability of being at home. So it's definitely reaching that group is kind of my main priority, but at the same time, anyone that needs to hear this message really is an important recipient, because really one of the other messages I try to touch on is, something can come along that you weren't expecting, just really knock the wind out of your sails, and all of a sudden you might find yourself kind of feeling all this stress, and it can be like a pressure cooker. So having positive outlets, people that you can talk to, routines that you can fall back on, can really be a game changer in those kind of situations. So that's something I try to emphasize. Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head, right? A combination of stressors over a period of time can certainly add. It may not be at once, but a combination of stressors, right? So, like as you said, the message is so important. Whether it's having a conversation or physical activity, or find something that helps support you as as we all kind of struggle. We all to me, mental health affects everybody, and it's how we look to cope. So in finding those ways, right? So I think the message that you guys are promoting and sharing is just terrific, right? And just the ability to initiate the important conversation. For example, 10 to 15 years ago, those conversations probably wouldn't happen, right? You mentioned that with the charity hockey game, right? Looking at a hockey in the dressing room, you got to be tough, right? And now where you guys have that the hockey game, it's great to see. I'm sure some conversations are happening, right?
Yeah, so it introduced all those guys to kind of this initiative. They might not have heard it otherwise. They might have not thought about it again after they came, but there might have been someone there that day that maybe found their way to our page and then found some information that was able to help them. So that's another important aspect of what it is that we're doing. We're also constantly sharing mental health resources on our page and trying to direct people to those, because I do often like to mention as well that I'm personally not a mental health professional, but I am able to connect people with those resources. So that's something that we emphasize as well.
Yeah, no, and it goes back to the awareness, and just having those conversations and bringing the awareness. So as mentioned, folks in the dressing room may not have known about the group, but it's bringing awareness that we all have our personal struggles, right? So it's important just to kind of lean on one another, and just basically be kind to people. You don't know what folks are dealing with, right? So I think the message that you guys have is just awesome. So Michael, I guess Mark, thank you for posting the material there on Facebook and Instagram, and as well there is just to want to draw the attention of people on the call right now. There is the global news story just on the group there, so certainly click on that to read about the story that Global profiled. So besides Michael, like the social media. How if folks are, I guess, looking for more information, how can they reach you or look to contact you or anybody in the group?
Yeah, so we're currently working on a website, so people will be able to contact us through that. That should be up and running very soon. We've just been kind of waiting on a couple small final details to come together.
Great.
So we'll have that up shortly, but social media is the best way to reach us. And then from that, people can get involved in Three Brothers Project in lots of different ways.
Awesome. The website, that's exciting that that's coming along. Is it so what I guess what is if you want to not unveil too much, what I guess when folks log on, what is the website going to look like, and what will they find?
Yeah, so the first part will be an introduction to what Three Brothers Project is. So social media is great for kind of continuing our story, but if you're just kind of popping in on there for the first time, you might look at one of our last posts, which was something about having a conversation with you here today. That doesn't tell them much about what Three Brothers Project is. So you kind of need that website to be able to, okay, let's rewind. Here's where things started. This is what we're doing. So the first part would be an introduction, just to kind of explain to people what is Three Brothers Project, what are our goals, what's your mission. And then the second part would be introduction to our board members, some of the people that I identified earlier. we hope to have a link to clothing sales in the future, so we'll do stuff like that. We're also going to have a list of mental health resources that people can reach out to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the last part would be press releases. So didn't think I'd need a website for that this time last year, but we've released 3 or 4 since this whole thing started. So
yeah,
and then
you can add this to it today too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. So I guess too, just looking at the time as well. I just have a couple more quick questions here. So I guess what's upcoming in the future, Michael? Upcoming initiatives that are planned that you can share with the group.
So next month we'll be the beneficiaries of the trivia night at Breton Brewing.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. Really appreciate those guys for getting us in there. So that will give us an opportunity to reach a whole new demographic. We'll just take a couple of minutes at the outset of the evening, just say who we are, quickly what Three Brothers Project is, and try not to make it too intense because people are there for trivia and they're there to have fun. So we'll keep that light. But we're looking forward to that and looking forward to spend some time with those guys. We're working on some clothing to be offered, and we're also going to be having a dinner in November. And then rugby beach volleyball with Rugby Nova Scotia is offered to do a fundraiser as well. So that's all in the pipe, and all in between that, we're going to be continuing just to kind of promote the message of having honest conversations about your mental health and encouraging people to seek help when they need it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a great slate of things coming up, and I know we'll do our best to share with our contacts through the newsletter to keep them in the know of what you guys are up to, right? So certainly encourage folks on the call, get to Breton Brewing next month to enjoy trivia, and also a shameless plug. There are Breton Brewing custom coasters designed and created at our Learning Employment Center by our talented folks. So while you're there, make it a great donation, sipping on a beer, pick up some coasters. It's you're helping a lot of good groups here in the community. So that's great, Michael. It's you guys are doing some awesome things coming up in the future, and it's great to see. And I'm sure everyone on the call just becoming aware of the project will, I'm sure, keep an eye out for things happening, right? So that's amazing. Okay, so I guess you're off the hot seat, my man. So that's all the prepared questions I had. So I know Mark's been doing a great job populating the chat box here. So right now, I just want to open it up to some live questions here. So you can feel free to pop your question in the chat box, or if you like to jump on video with us, just ask a question. You can start your video, unmute, and we'd certainly, I'm sure Michael would be more than happy to answer any questions you have. So. We'll open up the lines right now. And as well, please, everybody, do not jump out all at once. Okay, Mark Inglis has his hand up. Mark, please jump on. Mark, you are always awesome to ask questions.
Well, I know what it feels like when no one's asking questions. So I was a school teacher for 8 years. That was the worst.
Yeah.
My question is a bit of a question and a bit of a statement. So just kind of going along with what we were saying before about charitable status. Mike and I chatted about it briefly. I've been working in the charitable world for the last 5 years. And there are so many incredible organizations in our community right now, including Breton Ability Centre, including the Whitney Pier Youth Club that are current charities. And I think the nice thing about Three Brothers Project is that we're able to work with some great charities. Not to say that we would never be like an actual charitable status charity down the road, but I think there's some great work being done currently. So and that was a thought of mine and Bernie's and Mike's, and it's something to think through more. Listen, we might be a charity next week, right? Probably not next week, not that close. But there are just so many incredible, and including NSCC. It was great to be able to work with NSCC to create that fund. But my question is kind of to you, Dave, and to Mike as well. What partnerships, with the exception of the also secretive idea that we think we'll do eventually, what kind of partnerships do you see down the road between Breton Ability Centre and the Three Brothers Project? What else could we do? Maybe not necessarily in fundraising, but in communication, spreading the word about the supports for mental health in our community. Anything that you think we could be doing down the road?
Yeah, no, for folks that are on this call, I know my wife is on this call right now. She probably knows my head is just spinning with ideas right now, because just as we were having a great conversation, Mark, you're touching on some great things there to partner. And I think it's really important too, that you guys are reaching out and partnering with charities who have this status, right? Because we can all, let's leverage our strengths together, right? And it's great to see. I think we're in a time right now in Cape Breton where folks really want to work together and partner. So that's awesome. But I think ways that we can collaborate in the future, like as I mentioned, so the person directed program that we are running is a pilot, right? So over time, for example, I mentioned the bi-weekly newsletter. So we've built that now close to 250 contacts that we have through the community, right? So I see ways that we can work together and help to get your message out too, and as well through our social media platforms, right? So our social enterprise Best of Cape Breton, we're well over 11,000 likes now on Facebook, right? So we have a really large audience that is engaged, and as well as our newsletter for the store is well over 3,000 people strong. So anytime that we send something out, usually weekly, whether it's a product or a good news story, we have a lot of people that it touches. So I like to there's so many Cape Bretoners displaced across Canada, the US. They like to purchase things, but they also want to hear about the good news stories here at home in the different charities. Mark, as you know, we've worked together on a few projects. So for example, when we work with a foundation, right, you may have someone in Ontario that really wants to give back and purchase an item that is being fundraised for on benefit for the foundation. So I really think there's tons of potential. Even like Michael knows, and we're big into fitness, right? So I kind of see lots of opportunities there, right? It's just there's so many things, right? And it's just, and I think it goes back to the main thing is just making it normal to have that conversation and just kind of check in, whether on your fellow colleagues in the workplace or just friends, right? I think the message that you guys are trying to get out is just awesome, right? And it's I'm just so happy we're kind of at a point now where we're there, right?
Oh, was I muted? There you go.
You're muted.
I was gonna say, quit. That's great, and I love that idea. I think you said synergies working together is fantastic, because there are so many great organizations. Just a quick little anecdote that I forgot about, and I haven't even told you this, Mike. On my first week here at CBU, every day I walked by, there was a girl sitting outside of the store on campus, and I saw her every single day. So I finally just said, like, "Oh, that must be your office, is it?" And we just laughed. And then she goes, "You're part of the Three Brothers Project, right?" And I was like, "Cool." And I think she goes to your gym, Mike. But I just thought it was really cool that she recognized that. And it just goes to show that we're getting the word out and people are hearing about us and seeing what we do. And I think Mike's really smart to profile the board members, because, we are some of the people in the community that get out and can spread the good word about what we're doing. But this, Dave, I want to thank you very much for putting this on, because this is a huge opportunity to talk to a few new voices. And anyway, so that's great.
Yeah, like we have 13 on the call today, but as I mentioned, with the newsletters that have gone out, so we've been pumping it, and then as well, I mentioned too, we're going to make this conversation available today, that we will be sharing in the next few days too. Then will be uploaded to YouTube. And I notice a lot of folks, everyone's busy. It's summertime, but we do notice a trend now where folks do go back and watch these webinars, and we get a lot of conversations, so a lot of hits on YouTube. So it will be there, and hopefully more folks can just kind of watch the message. All right. Thank you, Mark, for the question. Much appreciated. Any, just like to open it up, is there any more questions? Just out there on the call that people would like to ask? Oh, we have, just bear with us here. Yeah, so Mark, thanks Mark for the message there in the chat. So maybe we'll just give it another like 30 seconds to a minute there if there's any other questions before we all go our separate ways today. And just to mention, just before we sign off, so there will be a survey going out at about 11:30 a.m. today, just on the webinar and your experience. So we certainly encourage you to fill that survey out. It gives us really valuable information to help us do these webinars better. As we mentioned, they are monthly, and just the feedback. And usually, as you know, we ask for any topics, for example, that you would like to see. So this month's topic was directed towards mental health. So we certainly encourage you to fill out that survey. It helps myself and Emma bring these webinars to you as well, and help to do a better job with what we're doing with the program. I just want to make folks aware next month. So next month's topic, we are going to be joined by my colleague at Breton Ability, Adam Gardner. Many of you know him on the call here. So he's our manager of training and development. So we're going to be having a conversation with Adam, talking about the low arousal approach. So low arousal, as some of you know, is an approach that we use at Breton Ability, and other organizations are now starting to use this. It originated in the UK. So for example, you know, we used to do MBCI, now it's low arousal. I think everybody, I would really encourage folks to sign up for that webinar. Adam is an amazing presenter. He is a teacher by trade, but I've taken many trainings from Adam in the past, my low arousal training, and by far I look forward to when Adam presents. He does an incredible job. He's very passionate about this approach. And I really think that, you know, folks not just working with people with varying abilities, but just, you know, you may be dealing with say, let's say, or if you work in retail, tough customers, or you may struggle with, say, some folks that you support. So it just shows ways to, you know, how to de-escalate situations. And Adam has so much wisdom that I can't, you know, just I really encourage folks to take this session in, because I really feel that you'll take at least one thing away from it with this approach. So really looking forward next month to having Adam join us, and it's going to be a great conversation and highlight the low arousal approach. So Michael, it looks like we don't have any questions. So I think the kudos to you for doing a great job in explaining what the project's all about. And as mentioned, with the events coming up, we will certainly be sharing that to our newsletters, social media outlets, and then as well that we hinted in the first bit of the call, there's a collaboration coming up amongst BAC and Three Brothers, and we'll keep everybody in the loop with that. We're not ready to drop too many details yet. We want to, but we're sure that people will certainly like what we're up to. So I just want to thank you, Michael, for joining us today. It was just great to have this conversation, and it's great, I think, just to make folks aware of the incredible work that yourself and the board is doing, just to bring up this important topic and having conversation around mental health. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great.
My pleasure. And yeah, thank you to David. Thank you for having us. And we really, we appreciate being here and helping kind of spread the message. One other thing that Mark kind of touched on, he mentioned the Whitney Peel Youth Club. They're going to be our next financial beneficiary. We're working on a project with those guys as well. So if anyone's wondering kind of where our next proceeds are being directed, that's the organization we're working with. And I should also touch on too, I didn't even mention this, I don't know why, but we filled up lots of the food shelves recently, kind of around the CBRM. So I forgot to touch on that as well. We had a little bit of extra money lying around. So that's what we did with it.
Yeah, no, that's great. So everyone on the call, that I think that might be a challenge to put something when you have a chance in the box. It's you know, wonderful to do that, right? So anyway, okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to next month. Michael, take care, all the best, and look forward to things that are coming down the pipe between both organizations.
Take care, Dave.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.